Peace and welcome to the culture here on Black Star Network. Folks, today we got a powerful show for you. Let's talk about and let's get into a deep dive about about the reparations and the history of this country as we're going to confront America's tragic past, folks. We're going to have a conversation about why folks are even trying to cancel Black History Month. Can you believe that? Plus, we're also going to talk to Barbara Keeley of the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute in Los Angeles to give us an update about the reparations movement that's happening around the country. Plus, we're going to be checking in with our culture crew, Nira Muhammad and Elijah Miles, and so much more. So, folks, stay riding with us. We got a lot to get to on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Folks, welcome to the show. Oh my goodness. I am so excited to have the opportunity to be back in front of you to talk with you this afternoon. We have a lot to get to. There is so much conversation in this country about Black people and the history of Black people. And today we thought we wanted to go into a deeper dive, a deeper conversation, a deeper discussion really about what the implications are and about the fact that we need to move this discussion to the next level. So I'm framing this as history and reparations. Confronting America's tragic past, folks, because that's exactly what we're doing. I want to break it down to you why we even having this conversation, because there are people both in education, in politics, that are in very influential positions that want to try to do their best to eliminate the tragedy of the transatlantic slave trade, to eliminate the tragedy of racism that still exists in this country. And I'm talking about teachers, I'm talking about political leaders, I'm talking about those who just say, you know what, we don't need to really deal with America's tragic past. We don't need to deal with the fact that all of these things have happened in America. We're past that. And it's always interesting to me, folks, that when people say that they're past a certain thing, are they talking about the people who were most affected, or are they talking about themselves? Are they saying that they have passed it? And when you say you passed something, does that mean that you have actually dealt with it, that you have looked at it, that you have embraced the fact that these things have happened in our country and that they are still happening in our country? Have we moved on, or have we passed it to the point that we are in a state of denial? That's what I'm talking about. So when we have this discussion tonight, and I want you to join me, you can post your comments on our Facebook page, on our YouTube page, wherever you see an opportunity to post your thoughts. I want you to post your comments because we're going to get to your comments in a little bit. But we have to be real, folks, that we have not passed this tragic past that this country has had with Black people. We're in Black History Month. We're celebrating the great contributions of Black men and women around not just in America, but around the globe. We're celebrating that. And people are pushing back on just a simple celebration. People are pushing back on the fact that you can't even have a discussion about something that has happened over 400 plus years ago. I mean, in 2022, we have become so we are in such a state of denial that we go as far as to say that just even learning about history is a problem. Just learning about it. I'm not saying we experience it. Not saying that, that it's going to conjure up violence, but just simply learning about a history is a problem. Now, why do you say that? Why do I say Farajii? Well, it's simple, because let's look at what Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida is saying. He went as far as to say, folks, check this out now. I can't make this stuff up. He went as far as to say that to learn about what they call critical race theory, and I'm putting that in there because critical race theory is essentially American history. It is the crux of American history. It is the discussion about the transatlantic slave trade. It is discussion about racist periods of segregation and Jim Crow laws and all of those things. But he went as far as to say that that should not be taught in the classrooms in Florida because he doesn't want to conjure up feelings of guilt and discomfort for those who are learning about it, for white people. I'm telling you, this is absolutely insane that you are afraid to learn the truth. When the country or when the people or when anybody is afraid to learn the truth or to even look at the truth, that's a real fundamental problem for me. And I think it should be a real fundamental problem for you. When you are saying that this thing, that this history, this time period, this experience of a people that has happened to a people over 450 years ago is a threat to the mental sanity of children who are learning about it today, to say that it will conjure up guilt and discomfort. What do you think learning about American history from the lens of white supremacy, what do you think that does to Black children? Just think with me on that one. I remember when I was a little boy, and every Black History Month, folks, you probably seen it. If you're 35 and older, you will know this, or 30, they might still show this. I remember watching those Eyes on the Prize videos. You remember those? I remember watching those Eyes on the Prize videos. Now, look, as in terms of history, that's one of the best, pieces of history in terms of documentaries about our history, about our struggle, about our sojourn in this country during the Civil Rights Movement. One of the best pieces that you go, that isn't throwing no shade on that as a piece of art, as a documentary. But what I do want us to challenge is that is not the only thing. If you're going to talk about Black history, you have to talk about not just once we got here on the shores of America, but you got to talk about what was life like for us before we got to the shores of America. Let's talk a little bit about that history. And we're learning more. We're learning more. There are more and more scholars. There are more and more scientists. There are more and more professors that are putting out works that are saying that, no, Black people in America who have come from all different parts of the globe, from different parts of the continent, Africa, there has been great history. There's a great legacy there that Black children in America in 2022 need to learn about. I'm talking about going beyond that, because our time as a people, it didn't just start with the Civil Rights Movement. Our time as a people wasn't just rooted in pain and struggle and turmoil and strife. It wasn't that. But we have to teach the full, complete history. We got to teach the full and complete history, especially when you're talking about, well, why was it that we were in a state in this country where we were being hosed down and dogs were sicked on us? Why? What was the real reason or reasons that these things were occurring to a people who just wanted to have access to restaurants and water fountains, who just wanted to cast a vote? See, that's the part, Governor DeSantis, that you don't want to talk about. You don't want to talk about how your forefathers had so much hatred in their heart that they wanted to make sure that Black people stayed in their place. You don't want to talk about that. You don't want to show the reality of where you came from. So instead, since you don't want us to show us the reality of where you came from, you want us to deny where we came from. You don't want us to be exposed to the true history of how we got here. And that's a problem. Because when you don't know your past, how are you going to determine your future? If you don't know where you have come from, how can you say, I'm presently here? Well, what brought you to this point? And I talked about this before, folks. As a people, we do ourselves a huge disservice when we don't teach Black children about our history, about the history of our struggles, whether it's Black Power movement, the Civil Rights movement, whether it's our time during Jim Crow, whether it's the period where the Reconstruction period. If you don't teach Black children those things, then they don't have a context about where they come from. They don't have a context about the people that have stood up and have moved the plight of Black people further along. They don't have a context that they are part of a great legacy. So that's the one of the consequences of not knowing your history. And that is something that is being encouraged and promoted in this day and time. And we got to fight back, folks. We really have to fight back on this whole idea that we should not learn our history. We cannot go silently in the night saying, well, that's right. I mean, you know, some of us, we are in that mental space where we say to ourselves, well, you know, that happened years ago. We passed that. Well, no. Well, you know, we don't have to worry about that now. It's all about us getting money. But do you really know that when a people experience a traumatic encounter, when they go through a traumatic situation like the transatlantic slave trade, do you know that experience is passed on genetically? And they have done studies on this, genetically, from those who were living in that experience to those who are reading about that experience. You know why I say that? Because they have found that in those who were a part of the Holocaust, those who were part of the Holocaust, the Jewish people, they say literally was found that in some of the DNA of the children, the pain, the suffering, the trauma was passed down from generation to generation. So if that is the case, we owe it to ourselves, family. We owe it to ourselves to make sure that we know and understand how serious this situation is. We can't go silently in the night. We can't go silently in the night. And I hope that as we have this conversation, that you understand how serious this really is. So look, I want us to take a quick pause. When we come back, we're going to check in with our culture crew. We're joined by Nira Muhammad and Elijah Miles. We'll have some discussion, but then we're going to discuss not only what we're seeing, this movement to cancel Black history right now, but we're also going to discuss the movement for reparations, because we have to be repaired from the damage that was done to us over 400 plus years ago. And we got to be repaired and healed from the damage that we're still experiencing as descendants of those who had experienced that traumatic event of the transatlantic slave trade. We got to be repaired. It's not about money, it's about healing. It's not about money, it's about America confronting her tragic, ugly past. It's not about money, it's about making a people whole again. We got to be repaired. So we're going to have that conversation. So stick around. There's a lot coming up on this first hour of the culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, tonight we want to have a very big conversation, something that I'm very excited to share with you, to have with you today, which is this conversation about history and racism forcing America to confront her tragic past. And this is a conversation that we have often in bits and pieces, but not taking the time to truly look at what is going on, how there is major efforts right now that are happening across the country where Black people and the history of Black people are under attack. I want to look at this. You know, I pointed out the fact that the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and I want to bring this up, so I want to make sure I'm saying this correctly. Here is a man who is the governor of a state. He's a Republican, but I don't care about none of that. I really don't. I'm talking about, because it's not even about labels. I'm talking about the level of ignorance. But he's all in on this anti-critical race theory type of ride. He went so far as to back a bill that would prevent any content that would make students or state employees feel guilt. I'm not lying, folks. To feel guilty about their individual identities. This is what this man is doing. You don't want to disrupt no one's view of themselves. Oh, don't put that out there. But damn it, Governor, we as Black people, we've been dealing with this shit for a long time. And you worrying about the feelings of some state employees? Because you don't want to really face the reality and the truth. See, and we're going to get to my culture crew members in a moment. I got to say this, man. America is on a decline. And do you know why America is on a decline? And this is not something that I'm excited about. I'm not hooping and hollering because I live here. My family lives here. You live here. But you know why this country is on a decline? Because we can't face the damn truth. I mean, this country just lie, just constantly lie all the way. It makes me think about, I'm about to take y'all there, but I think we got to go there. It makes me think about the story of Moses and Pharaoh, when Pharaoh didn't want to accept the truth that Moses was preaching, and he had to get into the Red Sea, damn near drowning, before he finally said he submitted, that he believed the truth, that he believed the God of Moses. But look how far it had to go. He damn near had to, he's drowning. And that's like this country. This country gotta be curtailed, as the scriptures say, on all sides before she comes to the reality that she was wrong. And that's a sad place to be, because too many people are going to lose their lives. And when you withhold the truth from anybody, I don't care whether you're black or white, when you withhold the light of truth from anybody, you're killing them. You're killing them. Your ass don't need to be in public office if you're going to lie to the people about the history. You don't need to be in public office if you're going to lie to the people about their present condition. And then you're going to lie to us about how the future is bright. Bullshit. You can't. The future ain't bright because you lying. You keeping people in the dark the whole time. So this is what Governor DeSantis is doing. Glenn Youngkin in Virginia, the governor there, doing the same damn thing. He went as far as to create a tip line for parents. I'm not making this up, folks. He created a tip line for parents who object to the content being taught in schools. What the hell? We're talking about simple American history. 20 years ago, there was no critical race theory. It is what it is. It's like, this is the history. It is what it is. But you're now creating a tip line for people to complain about learning about the truth? And you're going to tell us, and I'm saying you telling black people in this country, just go along to get along. Go out here and vote. It's sadness. It's sadness. And we deserve so much better. And for those of us who are seekers of truth, we can't be quiet nowadays. We can't be quiet. I want to bring in my culture crew. I want to bring in writer, educator, host of Queen Talks with Nira podcast. You can hear that on all streaming platforms. My wife, Nira Muhammad. Nira, thank you so much again for joining us. Always good to have you. And we're also joined by my brother. He is an activist. He is an educator. And man, he's rocking and rolling, doing the grassroots work in the city of Baltimore and other spaces. Brother Elijah Miles. Brother Elijah, thank you so much, sir, for being a part of the show tonight. Making sure I can hear you. Brother Elijah, I got you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, great. Great. All right. Look, I'm all ramped up, dear. I'm fired up because we at a point right now. It's just an all-out war. It's like an all-out war right now because as much as people say versus light versus dark, it's truth and lies. Just the lies right now. The fact that you got people in this country, Niram, that really are saying literally cancel Black history. Like, what is this about?
Let me first start off with this quote by my guy, Dr. King. He says, "Nothing in the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity." Conscientious stupidity. First of all, I'm a lover of history. Let's just say that. I love history. I think that a tree without history, we're a tree without roots. I've said that before. So the fact that Black history has been turned into something called critical race theory. First of all, let me just say, as an educator, Black History Month was never about making white people feel bad. Even when I teach about Black History Month, I've never taught from the lens of making white people feel bad. This is about honoring the greats. This is about teaching our babies about the strong Black men and women who have come before them, because unfortunately, because of integration, so much of our history has been watered down and omitted from our educational system. So one of the things that that I wanted to share from Carter G. Woodson, who, by the way, I studied urban education, elementary education at Morgan State University. And out of all the theorists that we learned about during education, the only Black theorist that we learned about was Carter G. Woodson. Let me just say that. He is the only theorist that we studied when studying education and theories and all these great philosophies that we learn about to even become an educator. Carter G. Woodson was the only Black person that we studied. Just throwing that out there.
Wow.
And he said, for those who have no record of what their forebears have accomplished, lose their inspiration, which comes from teaching biography and history. Who are we if we're not on the backs of our forebears? Who are we without all of the amazing Black men and women who have come before us, who have struggled to get us to where we are today? How dare we not honor them? So you know what? Down in Virginia and all these other states, one, we have to push back. That's some bull crap, that the fact that parents can call in and say, hey, I don't like that my kids are being taught Black history. But let me just say, it's not just Black history. In Virginia, they're also moving to remove Black history. They're removing to anything about the Holocaust. They're removing anything that has to do with the annihilation of the Native people here in this land. So this is not just about Black history. This is about anything that makes white people not look great.
That's crazy.
This is about making white people feel better about themselves. That's all this is. Literally, that's all this is about. And I want to just say, I've had the amazing opportunity to teach white children, to learn with white children. They were fine with learning this stuff. In fact, they wanted to learn this stuff. They didn't feel bad, and I didn't make them feel bad because I had no reason to make those babies feel bad. So that's just bullshit all around.
Absolutely. Elijah, when you see the efforts to cancel Black history, the way that we're seeing it in this country, and this is 2022, Elijah, we're not talking about 1982, we're not talking about 92, we're not talking about 2002 or 2012. 2022, we've had 8 years of a Black president. We got Black folks in leadership roles and from politics to education to arts and entertainment. I mean, across the board. Yet we're talking about canceling just teaching other people in the world about the great contributions that Black people have made in America. You're talking about canceling that level of knowledge to children in schools in this country. All out war to me, brother. What's your take?
It's definitely war. It's definitely war. Neely Fullett said that if you don't understand white supremacy, what it is and how it operates, everything that you think you understand will only confuse you. And so I don't think it's so-called ignorance or stupidity. I think it's a direct assault on Black children. I think it's a direct assault on the minds of not just Black kids, but kids in general. I think it's a direct assault on our identities and the culture, because we know, whether it's psychologists or sociologists, we know that stories lay the basis of how we see ourselves and our identity. So we don't have a who am I or who are we without stories. But if you can control the stories that white people are told, you can control the stories that Black kids know, then you can control how they see themselves. And the issue with that is that when Black kids look at the murder rate in Chicago, or when Black kids look at the drugs in Baltimore or the things in Detroit, where Black kids look at the stuff that they see in their community, without the stories, without the history, all you can conclude is, man, we ain't nothing.
Yeah,
we ain't nothing. But every effect has a cause. But if you hide the cause, then all you have as the effect is yourself. And so we look at it and say, man, we ain't nothing. We ain't never going to be nothing. And I agree with you, brother Farajii, that we have to know about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey. And then we also have to know, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, got to put him out there. But we also have to know about Mansa Musa in Mali. We have to know about Timbuktu. We have to know about the University of Sankora. We have to know about Hannibal and Carthage. We have to know about Kemet and Imhotep, the first multi-genius. We have to know about that stuff. Queen Nzinga, Yaa Asantewaa. We have to know about that stuff, because when we know about that stuff, it tells us our potential and our possibilities today. I would say one last thing.
Yeah.
Black kids knew the history and know all of the stuff that we have accomplished as the people. It don't matter the issues in Baltimore City or Chicago or Detroit. We know all of those issues. Wherever Black people are is light work to us. And we have accomplished so much yesterday that today we can get out of this. But without the history, there's no way out, because we've always been like this and we'll always be like this. And God made us inferior like this. It's the same thing they tried to do on the plantation. It's crazy.
Elijah, I was just thinking of what you said. Carter G. Woodson said the education of any people should begin with the people themselves. It should begin with the people themselves. If you look at so many other cultures anywhere around the world, their love for their native home, for their country, that pride, it is that patriotism, it is so strong because they learn about themselves. That love of their culture, their ethnicity, their beliefs, and all that makes their people who they are, that is ingrained in them from infancy. That is taught to them in schools. They read books that reflect who they are. So it is very, very important. And I do agree, this is not just about stupidity. I do believe that it is an attack, but you also have to look at the fact that this is not just attack on the Black community. This is attack on our Native brothers and sisters. This is attack on anyone who's been downtrodden by white supremacy.
No, I would agree with you wholeheartedly there for both of you, because I if we're talking about history, if we can't deal with the fact that Black people were brought over here through the Middle Passage, we can't talk about those things, right? I mean, that's an actual fact. That's not some Hollywood movie script. That's not some story written by somebody that you find in a book. That's actual fact. If we can't talk about the actual fact of a scenario, how the hell are we going to talk about the actual fact of any moment that we are experiencing, any situation that we're experiencing right now? We can't. I mean, that's crazy. It's mind blowing that you got. And I mean, it's not mind blowing that people are attacking us, because I truly believe that there are some people out there, and whether they're in leadership positions or not, they just don't like us. They just hate us. You know what I mean? And I get that. Okay, but I'm just saying, for us to be in a country where we have all of these rights and these freedoms, that we haven't gotten up to the point to fight this attack, not just within our own households, but I mean communities, neighborhoods, cities, and states. There has to be an attack. And I mean, you're going to keep beating up on the people. Here's the thing, Brother Elijah and Nero, that gets on me. You're going to keep beating up on the people. What do you think the God of justice is going to do with that? I mean, look at America, folks. This is not a joke. Nero, you talked about, look at the condition of the Native American community. Look at the condition of the Latino and our Hispanic brothers and sisters. Look at the condition of Black people. And I mean, look at how oppressed we really are as a result of white supremacy. What do you think the God of justice, the universe that is built on the idea and the principle of fair dealing, which is justice, how do you think that's going to respond? How do you think Mother Nature is going to respond? I mean, this is, and that's why I'm saying this is so serious, because it gets down to the fundamentals and to the root of a human being. You're not even human when you deny people the light of truth and the light of knowledge. You become a savage. When you deny people to know who they are, even the Constitution. And I know people say, well, we can't use this as a basis, but this is where we are, so I'm gonna use this as a reference. But the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, even goes so far to talk about how you can't prohibit the light of knowledge and truth from citizens. There is a price to pay when you do things like that. And that's what I'm saying, Brother Elijah. There is a real price to pay. And I'm not saying that we're going to be the ones to bring in the revolution. We may be used that way. I don't know. That's whatever the Creator wants us to, the role to play. But I know that there's a price to pay, because the universe is built on truth. The universe is built on justice. The universe is built on equality and freedom. Those are natural laws, immutable truths. there's a price to pay. And that's what I'm saying, Brother Elijah. There's a price to pay. See, people think we can't get into the space of just thinking, oh my gosh, it's just about politics. No, there's a real price to pay, because then you are setting your own children. We may not, Mr. DeSantis, you may not feel the price, the consequences, but your grandchildren will. Your nieces and nephews, those who are coming behind you, Mr. Youngkin, they will. They're going to feel that because of your ignorance and stupidity and because of your savage thinking. Brother Elijah, go ahead, talk to me, brother.
I would say, man, you're right on with all of this stuff. And we do have to fight back any way we can. Because when you control a people's knowledge of history, you control their destiny. Because history is the guidepost to a people's destiny, as Marcus Garvey teaches. So is a control over destiny. Where we go as a people will be determined by our knowledge of history. And so when you are fighting back against our understanding of history, our very understanding of the world around us and how we got to where we are, and you control white people's understanding of history, then it puts us back in a place where we are going to stay in our situations that we're in right now perpetually, or we just won't have the tools to fight against them that we used yesterday. But when you're giving Malcolm X and Marcus Garvey and Muhammad Ali and all these great people before you, you say, dang, to be a real man, to be a real woman, black man or woman is not just to rap or play basketball, but it's to be a part of the progression of my people. And just how they sacrificed for me yesterday, I'm going to honor them by sacrificing in some way, shape, or form to get us forward today. You can't do that. You're not even grounded in real purpose, collective purpose, without an understanding of history. And they're trying to rob us of all of that. And we got to fight back to make sure our kids know who they are and make sure all kids know the history of this country, which we played a big role in creating.
Absolutely, absolutely. Folks, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, we're going to check in with the director of the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute. We're going to talk to the director, Brother Baba Akili. We're going to give us some insight about the state of the reparations movement, because just as much as we talk about CRT, just as much as we're talking about pushing forward some type of legislation, we do need to talk about the repair that needs to take place in order for us to move forward in this country. We need to be repaired. This country needs to be repaired, and we're going to have that discussion. So stay with us. We still got a lot to get to in this first hour of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punch I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, we've been having a very, very robust conversation as we talk about history and reparations, confronting America's tragic past. We're talking about these things. Of course, this is Black History Month, but more importantly, we're seeing that there is an all-out assault on Black history, of understanding the truth. There's an all-out assault of on the contributions that Black people have made. But there doesn't seem to be too much of an assault on repairing the damage that was done. That's why we're so happy to be joined by our first guest for tonight. He serves as the director for the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute in Los Angeles, and he is also one of the conveners of the virtual community meeting and town hall Reparations Beyond Equity. Now, this reparations meeting took place back on January the 29th. It also included Black Lives Matter Los Angeles chapter and the National African American Reparations Council. We are so happy to be joined by now Baba Akili from the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute. Baba, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. How are you?
Thank you, and I'm glad to be on, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely, Baba. It's an honor and a privilege and a pleasure. And I wanted to bring you on just because, as we're having this conversation about how there are efforts to cancel Black history, as another part of that is that there's a reparations discussion, right? There is a growing reparations discussion. I have been in talks with one of the, I would say, leading scholars on reparations, my good brother, Dr. Ray Winbush. We've had many conversations about reparations, and when I had my radio show, and we're going to have more here on this platform. So I'm telling you up front, Baba, you are always welcome to be on this platform, dear brother. You got a space here. But when we look at this conversation around reparations, oftentimes the narrative is rooted in money. And in my opening remarks, I'm saying we need to get past the money. There is something inherently valuable about talking about repairing the damage that was done to a people. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. And one of the things I do want to do is I want to make clear, I'm on the board of the Institute of the Black World. And the Institute of the Black World is the convener of the National African American Reparations Commission, NARC. It is the experts on reparations and has been working with NCOBRA, which is the oldest organization that it's been around since 1987, working on the issue of reparations. And so what I and others did with the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute, I was invited to, a national symposium on reparations in Evanston, Illinois. And because it's the first city that actually is paying reparations to descendants, and in some cases, descendants of Black folks who were discriminated against and displaced in Evanston, Illinois. They get $25,000 to put down on a home, to put down on a down payment for a home, or repair their home. Because what they studied was what harm was done to us as Black people between 1911 and 1969, and they decided on housing as a way for reparations. So it is certainly about making repairs, repairing the harm, and also acknowledging the hurt, harm, and damage that was done to Black people. And so one of the things that the at NARC has, the National African American Reparations Commission, is a 10-point program that looks at not starting with acknowledgement, apologies, and then moving to 9 other areas that can be invested in. And part of what we did with our reparations town hall was we had small group meetings after the larger plenary with some dignitaries like Julianne Malveaux, Dr. Maulana Karenga, Dr. Ron Daniels, and Robin Rue Simmons, who is the retired alderperson from Evanston, who had the vision and fought for reparations for Black people in Evanston. So we had a very lively discussion, a very informative discussion. Then we broke down into small groups, and we asked people, what do you think reparations should go for? How should it be developed? And then we talked about funding sources. And where do you think it should come from? In Evanston, they decided to create a $10 million program from the sales of cannabis. That's how they're.
Oh, wait a minute, hold on, Bob. And now we getting into something real deep on this one. Now we getting into something real deep. You're saying the sale of cannabis, the way they set that up in Evanston, Illinois, the sale of cannabis allowed them to get the process started.
Yep.
Paying reparations from the sale of cannabis.
Yep.
Wow.
And in large part, I mean, they looked for resources. They looked for funding. And that was one of the places that they saw that we have, the whole war on drugs was a war on Black people. It's a war on Black people. And so they felt like it was fitting to take the so-called war on drugs, which was really a war on us, and take the resources from that and apply it to reparations. And they're getting $10 million. Wow. And they're going to be, and that's one of the places in around the country where Black people are actually getting reparations. One of the things I would encourage you to do and ask you to consider in future programs, one, and I'll certainly share this with you, is bring on Dr. Ron Daniels with NARC and Sister Robin Rue Simmons, so that they can talk about in detail about the 10-point plan that NARC has and how it is that Evanston was able to, within 2.5 years, develop, create, and implement reparations in Evanston, Illinois. I think it's a great learning experience. And I was so enthused by it that I came back to LA and we talked with the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute about, starting the year. What did we want to start on? And it was raising up this issue of reparations, educating people about it, because, the issue has come and gone a couple of times over the years. And sometimes over those courses, Black people have been discouraged to even think and talk about reparations. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, that ain't gonna never happen. And so we've kind of accepted that. But then in the past, 6 or 7 years, it's come around again. I think with Ta-Nehisi Coates' book, I think the work of NARC and in COBRA and other groups has pushed it to the forefront again. There's been legislation in Congress since 1989 that was introduced by the late Congressman John Conyers to H.R. 40 to study reparations. This current H.R. 40 not only creates a commission to study the harm, damage, and hurt that was done to Black people because of enslavement, but to talk about implementation.
And Baba, that's what I was going to ask about very quickly. How far are we? Because there was some point I remember, I think it was maybe last year or probably 2019, but sometime before COVID, there was more. It seems like that piece of legislation was getting some traction. You saw more Black Democrats, for example, who were signing on and pushing it and saying, look, We need to have it. Like you said, it established the commission. So I'm wondering how far politically is this issue going?
Well, certainly in Congress, and like I said, it's been introduced every year since 1989, and in those years, through those years, it couldn't even get out of committee. This year, for the first time, it's gotten out of committee. It's got 195 co-sponsors.
Wow.
And which is more, we've never had more than about 40 co-sponsors, 45 co-sponsors in all those years since 1989. This time we have 194. There was a great hearing that was held by Sheila Jackson Lee, who is now the author of HR 40, where she had Ta-Nehisi Coates, Dr. Julian Malveaux, a number of very prominent reparations experts and academics talking about the need for reparations, the meaning, value, and impact of reparations, and so it caught some steam. And then, unfortunately, and I say this unfortunately, then the whole George Floyd issue, came up, and once again, and I say unfortunately, it takes Black death to awaken white folks. You know what I mean? Because we have been struggling, certainly, and Black Lives Matters has been around now going 8 years. We have been, raising our issues in the streets and the rest. But it took the death of a Black person, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. It takes our death to move white people to some level of consciousness about, wait, maybe things ain't right here. Maybe we need to do something here. But that's a heavy price for any people to pay. And what I find I was going to say ironic, but it's almost 100 years since the Red Summer of 1919, where Black folks were just killed indiscriminately, and 100 years since the massacre in Tulsa. So that's a heavy price, a very heavy price for any people to pay to get a society that they help build and contribute to accept our presence here. One of the things I heard you all talking about is the attempted erasure of Black folks just before we started this conversation. And for me, there are 4 conditions that Black folks have to deal with: white supremacy, institutional racism, individual bigotry, and mass denial.
Wait a minute, hold on, Bobby. You're taking us to school right now, dear brother. So
these are my observations, and they're your observations.
Can you give us those 4? I love those. I love it.
Well, think about it. White supremacy first. That is, whites thinking they're superior, and then they create institutions to reinforce that thinking. So we have institutional racism. And then they individually support the institutions. So we have individual bigotry, and then we have mass denial. White folks today, even the Klan is denying that they're racist. They're just upholding their heritage. And so the mass denials allows the individual bigotry to exist. The individual bigotry supports the institutional racism. The institutional racism supports white supremacy. And so they're all linked together, and as we look at racism, the denial and deprivation of a people's history, humanity, and right to freedom based exclusively upon race, you can see what's happening here. In many ways, we have gone through, at least my observation, we have gone through a kind of cold civil war, and you could see it happening when Obama got elected. And you can see the results of it now. And we're kind of shifting into the second Reconstruction, if you will. Think about and look at the historical patterns that we see existing now. Look at the Obama administration, the South rejected Obamacare, even though white people would benefit from it. They rejected it in large part because they didn't want Black people to benefit from it. And you look at how they attacked President Obama, and then you can see the backlash, if you will, today. and this whole effort at erasure that you can't even talk. As a matter of fact, we in Black History Month right now. If you let DeSantis and the governors from most of the Confederate states and some of the more conservative states in the country, we won't have Black History Month next year.
Right.
Because
Robert, that's why we brought up the conversation. I want to get us started. I want to get us organized for next year.
Yeah. And we're gonna have to, and if we're gonna keep Black History Month, you can almost hear it now. Well, why do they? I mean, we've heard it many years before, but why did they have to have a designated month? Can't we just talk about all of American history? I mean, and that's also a part of the denial. That the denial that there is any racism in this society. Can't we just be one big society? And when we say that, what you do is you erase us. When you talk about color neutral and all those kind of terms, you erase us. We get left out. We get dismissed. And so part of what reparation does is brings us to first the meaning, value, and impact. The meaning of reparation is to repair, to restore. The value of it is it contributes to making a people whole that has been harmed and hurt. And then the impact is it contributes toward, at some point, at least closing the wealth gap. We talk about it now, but we got to close it. And one way to contribute to it being closed is through reparations.
Baba, I know your time has with us is short. But again, I want to say first and foremost, thank you so much for being on the show with us today. You are always welcome. I want to take you up on that offer, of bringing Dr. Ron Daniels onto this platform, because I want to put it at the forefront of our people's mind, the seriousness of this. And I think, in this time that we're in, with this level of assault from legislation, from the attitudes that people have about Black history and Black life and Black culture, and especially about Black bodies, we can't afford to not constantly be reminded of how serious it is for us to get involved in this struggle, in this work.
I agree.
We have to constantly be awakened. And I love your 4 points, because even us, you saying that that's for white people, but I can think the same way for Black people. White supremacy, we get into a space of institutional racism. We're like, no, we all diverse here. We go through a place of individual bigotry. Oh, I don't like them over there. Those them crazy Black folk, because they talking about we good over here. And then mass denial, where some of us live in better homes, and so we start to believe I'm good. The police don't pull me over because I live in this neighborhood. And we need to be reminded that nothing has changed, unfortunately, in 2022 America. So, Bob, I appreciate and love you. Thank you so much, brother.
And thank you so much. And we need to be having these conversations with each other. They are tension-filled. And as one of the things that Patrisse Cullors talks about in her new book, and a quick plug for it, Abolitionist Handbook, is courageous conversations. We need to have courageous conversations with each other about what we think of each other, how we regard each other, how we support each other, how we sometimes don't support each other. One of the things that's happening now, and I'm going to have to run, but is that the Black Lives Matter and the Black liberation movement is under attack. Its leadership is under attack in large part because they're women, seriously, and because we have been successful in changing the narrative, in having the discussion. We took a simple statement like Black Lives Matters and has turned it into a movement where people are saying, yes, Black Lives Matters. And because Black Lives Matters, we demand reparations. Yes, Black Lives Matters, we demand an end to police violence. Yes, Black Lives Matters, we demand an end to state-sanctioned violence in all its forms, social, political, and economic. And so we've took a statement like that, Black Lives Matters, and turned it into a movement. And we know, and we should remember that when we fight, we win. And so we're going to have to constantly fight. We're going to have to constantly be on shows like yours and use platforms like these to make sure, one, that our voices are heard, two, that our understanding is shared, and three, that we engage and involve our sisters and brothers in the fight back as we continue to be successful. So I thank you for giving me this time to share, and I look forward to returning and sharing more with you.
Absolutely. Baba Akili, director of the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute. Baba, we appreciate you and I love you. Thank you so much for the work and continuing to keep us posted on the struggle. Thank you, brother.
All right. Thank you.
Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, more conversations about it. Many of you have already checked in on our YouTube and Facebook page with your comments. We're going to have those comments. We're going to continue the conversation with our culture crew members, Elijah Miles and Nira Muhammad, and so much more in the next hour. So stay with us. It's The Culture, only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back to the show, folks. We've had a phenomenal first hour as we talked about history, and reparations confronting America's tragic past, having a discussion about everything from the efforts to cancel Black history to getting an update about the state of the reparations movement with Baba Akili, who serves as the director of the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute in Los Angeles. Now, I want us to continue to have this conversation because so many of you have been checking in on both our Facebook and YouTube pages and in other places. But I think we need to have another part of this conversation, especially since Baba Akili just dropped some jewels for us this afternoon. And I thought maybe let's dive into this. So I want to bring back my culture crew members, Nira Muhammad, who is a writer, an educator, and host of Queen Talks with Nira podcast, and my brother Elijah Miles, who is an activist and the founder of Thandie Family, as he serves as the chairman. Nira, Elijah, wow. When we talk about reparations, there's a lot to talk about. And one of the big things I was listening to as I was hearing Baba, Nira, is the fact that it's not about money. I said this, but he just drove home the point for me. It's really not just about the money.
Yeah, I would have to agree. It's not just about the money. It's about the fact that it's recognition, it's reparation, repairing. And of course, we can never truly repair all the damage that was done, but just acknowledging and even, you know, I feel like reparations in some ways are an olive branch. When it was given to the Japanese, it was seen as an olive branch. When it was given to surviving members of the Holocaust, it was seen as an olive branch. I really love when he mentioned that the sales of marijuana has been used to pay back some of those reparations. I think that's a big thing. What was her name? Is it Cynthia Nixon from Sex and the City? I think she mentioned that a few years ago, and she got a lot of flack around that. And when she mentioned it, I was like, bruh, that's actually a dope idea. Why not? To be honest, I mean, I know personally when I go to the dispensary, I don't see a lot of people that look like me. I don't. I see a lot of people that look like me struggling to try to purchase marijuana. I see a lot of them going to jail for marijuana. Mm-hmm. So to see it become this new trendy, cool, hippie thing, you know, you're in the dispensary and I'm just like this only black girl in there. And it's just like, oh yeah, try this, try that. And I'm just like, damn, when did we become cool?
Right.
Because I feel like in my community, it's always been looked at as a negative. Oh, you smoke weed. That means you don't want a good job, you know. But just thinking about the fact that here's something that has plagued the Black community, but can actually be used now to help repair the Black community. And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I thought that was very, very strong. I think that if you're talking about money, that's a good place to start. You know, we're always promised all these things. Oh, if a casino comes into our neighborhood, it's going to be used for education or reparations. And we don't ever see that happen. So it would be nice to see something fruitful come out of those dispensaries and actually start seeing some funding being put back into the Black community, whether it's canceling student loan debt, whether it's giving us money to put down payments on a home. Those things are impactful.
No, I would agree with you wholeheartedly. It's like the dispensary becomes this disposable income, like a little extra money you find in your pocket that you didn't know that you had. And you're like, wait a minute, I can put this money to good use.
I found $15 in my mom jeans, Farajii, yesterday. I was like, thank you, mom jeans. Thank you. And I bought a cupcake.
Right, you bought a put to good use. But I mean, and I agree with you that we're not thinking, and this is the big thing about this part, Elijah, that we're not thinking, or it doesn't seem to be, and I mean, Evanston is a small city in Illinois, it's right outside of Chicago. But it just doesn't seem like leaders are thinking creatively to say, how could we possibly make this happen? And that's the part for me that is disturbing. It's like, wait a minute, you mean all these brilliant minds in public office, down city halls and in the state capitals across this country, and we're not thinking creatively. We're not thinking, okay, we are stretched on the budget on this place. We can't use this money. We're not thinking creatively to say, but we still got to repair the damage. Where can this money come in? Just something as simple as, okay, if you were to propose that if you live in a city or a town and you say, okay, just as much as the government takes taxes out of your paycheck, imagine if the government says, hey, out of every paycheck that you earn, $1 is going to be taken for the reparations fund. Just something small like that, right? How much money can be accumulated? And I'm just making those numbers up, saying $1. It could be less, it could be more. But Elijah, just thinking outside of the box to start the process to repair the damage. Why is that not happening in your estimate?
Because America doesn't want to face what is done to us as a people and how they play a role in everything that they complain about in the Black situation today. And so I agree that reparations is not just about money. It's a question of justice. It's a question of striving to do something to repair what was done. And the issue is that when it comes to reparations, before the pandemic, a lot of people were saying they didn't have it. We don't have it in the budget. America don't have it in the budget to be able to pay for reparations. But what's interesting is during the pandemic, everybody got a stimulus check. And it was like, well, you do got the money. You just don't want to use the money towards the justice for Black people. And so reparations, it has to be put on the agenda. And us as Black people, we can't fight against reparations. It doesn't matter. We can't fight against reparations. It doesn't matter whether or not we believe is going to get it. We have to be for reparations if we're for justice. So we have to support reparations for Black people. And I would say this, a lot of the guilt and shame that the children of former slave masters feel in America is as a result of the lack of justice. Because it's not just that slavery happened or segregation happened, it's that you reading and learning, and these white kids are learning that we did nothing about it. Your country did nothing about it. Yeah, we just put y'all in freedom. And so they walk around with guilt and shame because everyone knows that they haven't given justice to Black people, and everyone knows that part of America is complicit in all the issues of Black people all around the country.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to just share with you just some of the comments that folks are posting on our YouTube chat. And folks, you can continue to post your comments, and we're going to try to just acknowledge them as many as we can. But T. Smaller said, look, we need reparations because of poor money management and no true leaders. But it is true, we do have the world's largest spending power. Our dollar only circulates within our community for 6 hours. And you know, Elijah and Nira, y'all both know, we all know that, you know, when they started to do that study about how long the dollar lasts, we put it like the black dollar. It's not the black dollar, it's just the dollar. You know? The black dollar, no. So, but they're saying that, look, it only lasts in the community for hours. But we're so bent on this getting a check. And Elijah, you brought it up. You know, we saw what happened during this pandemic. The United States government said, we will make a way for people. And look, I'm not mad. Some people are really crazy and say, man, we shouldn't have gotten no check. No, we should have gotten checks. People were out of work. Families needed it. I'm not mad about that. But what is stopping the country from doing a consistent, regular rounds? You know, Nira, you and I have talked about this before in other countries where even during the height of this pandemic, I mean, it wasn't too much off of the backs of these governments to stay okay during this whole period. Now, what, we're 2 years in? During this whole period of the pandemic, there are other countries that are still paying families just on basic principles of, we know we're back to work, we know your children are back in school, but here's something to keep you going. Just a little, I don't care if it's $600 a month. Something can be given.
When I looked at the numbers,
as an example. Go ahead.
Yeah, when I looked at those numbers, because you and I had that conversation. One, I will say this, not in America's defense, because I don't want to defend our country, but our population was much larger than those countries that were able to do that. So I'm just throwing it out there.
Good point.
So it's a lot different. But I mean, again, like Elijah pointed out, why repair the damage when you're trying to erase it? We're talking about reparations. They're trying to erase our history. So we gotta, like, reparations might have to get tabled for a minute, because right now we're at war with even keeping our history alive.
Well, so if that's, since
like,
that's
how
the case,
are we supposed to fight both?
Well, we have to. I mean, you have Bob.
I'm not saying we don't need reparations, but Farajii, we're at a place right now where they're trying to erase our history. If they erase our history, they're gonna be like, well, what do we need to give you reparations for?
Well,
we didn't do anything wrong. We did nothing wrong. Why are we giving you money?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying we have to really keep that at the forefront, because this is a big issue. To wake up and see a news headline saying that, oh, we're trying to erase Black History Month. That's an all-out attack simply on our history. And that has nothing to do with critical race theory. That has nothing to do with slavery. Black History Month has nothing to do with that shit. Let's just put that out there. Black history, as we mentioned, is all about highlighting the contributions of the black diaspora, period, across the world, across the globe. So if you're just trying to erase our history, why would you give us reparations? That's the point that I'm making. They don't see the point.
Here's why. And I've said this on Roland's show, and I'm going to say it on this show. There is a science in the demand. There is a science in the demand. And what I'm saying by that is that if we don't at least demand it, if we don't at least put it out there, something that I've always remembered, I know both of you have seen this on the back of the Final Call newspaper, the official newspaper of the Nation of Islam. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has a number of demands. He says, first, what do Muslims want and what do we believe? He said, in the What the Muslims Want, for example, he brought up the fact that we wanted separate territory of this country for our own. Now, that's a demand. He said, we want that. He put that out there. Why? Even though he put that out there and then at the same time still talked about the fact that you're dealing with a country that don't want to do right, a government that does not side on right. There is a science to putting a demand out there to show the hypocrisy. And at the same time, not just showing the hypocrisy of how this country says that they really want to do something on paper, but don't do it in real life and in action. The science of the demand is that if you really care about your people as much as you say you care, then guess what? Why not do this? Now,
I don't know, Farajii. I don't think I want to see reparations in the form of money. You literally just mentioned that the black dollar only stays in our community for 6 hours. So we get this money, we get these reparations. What does it do for us in the larger picture, on the larger scale? I think that's for me. I'm wrapping my mind around what reparations look like, what it does for the Black community, what we do with those dollars, how it propels us to the next level. So I'm not saying we don't deserve reparations. I do believe that we do deserve reparations. I just want us to be very strategic in what we're asking for.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And Wes, one of the big things, Elijah, that I've had a few conversations with Dr. Ray Winbush. He's the author of Make America Pay, and he talks about the reparations, one of the leading scholars of reparations, of the reparations movement. And one of the things he offered and proposed in saying that, look, reparations don't just have to be checks. Reparations can simply be allowing the next generation to go to Ivy League schools for free. Reparations could be land ownership. See, when we're talking about, one of our watchers, Christopher, said multi-generational reparations equal generational wealth, direct cash payments for 25 generations. It's the only way. I'm talking about multi-generational payments or generational wealth. I would rather for Black children who are the sons and grandsons and the great-great-grandsons and of the descendants to go to. Why can't you go to Harvard for free?
Hey, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I know
you go to Yale for free. Why can't you own? What happened owning? You don't need 40 acres. Give us 1 acre. Give every family who has the capacity. Give us 1 acre of land, and say, okay, here's your 1 acre, good fertile ground. It's worth this amount of money, and then we'll support you for 20 years.
Man, Farajii, a lot of Black people gonna be like, I'm selling it. I'm selling it.
I hope not.
Land. You want to take me? I'm gonna let Elijah take over.
Even if, Nara, it's still the question of justice. It don't matter if we throw it all back. The point is, you owe it to us. You know what I mean? And it was a question early after slavery. It was a lot of people that were trying to keep us in slavery because they would say the Black man, the Negro, the nigga is not ready for freedom. And then when we got out, they're not ready for the right to vote. They're not ready for education. And so the argument right now against reparation is like Black people ain't ready. They're not going to do the right thing. That's not a question. The question is, you owe us it. So calculate it and give it, because that is justice. It's justice. And so I do.
It breaks my heart that I feel like it's going to go right back into the white community. I just feel like,
but I get you.
Even when I look at Black successful people, we equate success to white shit. Like, if I'm successful, that means I need to have some white shit. Like, I gotta have Gucci, I gotta have Louis, I gotta have Chanel. I don't even look at success looking at a Black. And there are a lot of Black brands that are luxury. I personally try to seek them out and purchase from them. But it's just sad. It's like you have to beg your own to even support within the Black community. And I feel like that's just what bothers me. It's like, okay, we're going to get this money and then we're going to be broke again. It's like the people that win the lottery that typically take the payout all at one time. There's studies that show that typically within the first 2 to 3 years, they're broke. Millions of dollars gone.
That's the truth.
I just don't want that for our people. That's all I'm saying. I just want something better.
I agree. But that's why also on the back of that final cause, the question is land. Is land. You owe us land. And if we can own, like, the major cities in America should be owned by Black people. They populated by Black people. And so it didn't have to be a land question. But I think we have to push for reparations simply because it's justice. And you owe it to us. Now, the problem is that we have to be organized enough as a people to be able to do the right things with it. That's the truth. But in order for us to be organized, we have to agree on some principled things. One is, yes, the reparations across the whole Black community. But the point is that we can't get organized without organizations like the Nation of Islam or the organizations that pass by. All these organizations like the Baba that just represent organizations. All these organizations are underfunded and they underrepresented. And so also a problem is why we're not unified, because our community don't have a center. So if you're Jewish, you have a synagogue. If you are Arab, you have a mosque. But for us, we all over the place and can't agree on, yes, the reparations, because we don't have our center. And if we had a center that was funded, a cultural center, that we exist to culturally orientate and give us our values and give us our goals and give us history, whether education gives us it or not, it'll put us in the right place. I would say this, I personally don't want our kids to go to Ivy League schools for free. I think we need our own schools to be funded in the same way that right coming out of slavery, HBCUs were created. And I think all this stuff when it comes to education is going to be represented in all these educational institutions. So we need to think about reparations in the form of land, in the form of institutions, in the form of cultural centers that are funded by the government that owe us.
No, and that's and you know what, Elijah? That is the big part of this, that they owe us. We know it. And look, people are checking in on our YouTube page, and that's exactly what people are saying, that yes, Queen Sugar said reparations need to come in all forms, monetary, land, etc. We can decide what to do with it. They owe us. Look, you got brilliant, and Queen Sugar, I appreciate your comment, but you got brilliant people like, we're going to, may God be, with us to get this, to make this effort happen. We're going to bring on Dr. Ron Daniels. I got to reach out to my brother, Dr. Ray Winbush. I'm going to be reaching out to people because guess what? You do have people in our community, scholars and professors and scientists, bankers and lawyers, that if we come to the table and say, okay, we can make this happen. Baba talked about Sheila Jackson Lee. I know that there are other lawmakers that are trying to push this new revised version of HR 40. Look, it has to be a unity, a community effort. It has to be, to bring it to the table. And this is not a conversation saying we shouldn't have it. It's a conversation I think about whether how should we get it? How should we get it? How should we strengthen our demand? The Bible said back in the day, HR 40 only got about 40 votes. Now we're up to 195 votes. So what happened? The culture has changed. The view of race in America is changing. The sentiment is changing. So if that's the case, then we gotta keep our foot on the gas and up the ass of somebody to let them know, like, we're not going anywhere. That's what it comes down to. We're not going anywhere. And I know people talking about cash and all of this other stuff, but the reparations conversation is a valuable conversation. We go harder talking about who we're going to vote for versus what we're going to do and how we're going to make this a reality. If a small town, I'm going back to this real quickly, Nira, and then we're going to take our next pause. But if a small town, not small, but it's a small community outside of Chicago, Evanston, Illinois, is able to say, hey, this is what we did. This is the model that we've created. Why the hell, if they funded reparations from cannabis, then what's stopping Denver from funding reparations from cannabis?
Nothing whatsoever. I think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful for him to say that they use it to purchase homes. That is what generates wealth. Land is in ownership is what generates wealth. I think that's beautiful. I love that. I love that it wasn't given in a monetary way. I'm sorry. I hear everyone saying they want money. I just don't want to see us beg for these reparations and then end up back in the same situation because we squandered that shit. That's what I'm saying. And that's what happens too often. So land, education, I'm all for it. I am.
Folks, look, I'm all for it as well. Folks, we got to take another pause. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. We'll also go over trends, posts, and doing the most, and a whole lot more. So stay with us. Another 30 is coming at you here on The Culture, only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home. You dig?
All right, folks, we've been having a robust conversation about reparations, history, and forcing America to confront its tragic past. And as you know, it's something that is an ongoing situation. So we're very, very serious here at The Culture that we're going to continue to have discussions with Barbara Keeley and bring on other scholars and those who are part of the reparations movement to help us to weed out some of these big questions. It's big questions, looming questions about how it should be done or what should be done or what's the next step and all of these things. But at the end of the day, just know we have the intelligence, we have the unity that's there, that's needed to make this happen. This is not something that can just be overlooked. This is something that can make it, that can actually happen. So certainly here on The Culture, we're going to bring more voices to discuss this reparation movement and of course the movement to fight the canceling of Black history. Now, I wanted to switch gears a little bit because as we're talking about these things, me personally, folks, I am the type of person that is I'm always about learning. I'm always about, seeking the knowledge to keep up on what's going on and staying posted on these things. But we got to ask ourselves the question, is knowing too much, is having all of this knowledge about what's going on, is it really, really good? Or do you feel like you just can't keep up anymore? Let me just share with you one of the a mental health specialist said. He wrote a column for the Baltimore Sun, and his name is Herb Cromwell. And Herb Cromwell pointed this out as a mental health specialist. He said, I know firsthand that progress doesn't happen without the leadership and dedication of knowledgeable citizens. But lately, the tasks at hand are so daunting that positive change seems beyond the reach of even the most well-informed. Climate disaster looms, gun violence continues unabated, voting rights are suppressed, and overall stability and comity deteriorate. The uninformed and misinformed contribute to needless COVID-19 deaths. Lies and conspiracies threaten our very democracy. He said, every minute brings news that is not only discouragingly negative, but leaves a mere mortal feeling hopeless. Then he says that at the start of Black History Month, Morgan and Coppin State Universities and other HBCUs across the country received bomb threats. A Tennessee school board recently banned a book on the Holocaust by a Pulitzer Prize-winning author. The 6 warmest years on records have all occurred since 2012, says the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. Inflation in the United States is the highest it's been since 1982. He said, even if one wants to be informed, it's getting harder. He said, without good journalism, the dumbing down of America will continue unimpeded as conspiracy replaces truth and facts become optional. Our shared sense of reality will keep eroding. That may be the worst news of all. I wanted to be going back to our culture crew, Nir Muhammad, Elijah Miles. Elijah, when I read Mr. Cromwell's op-ed and talking about the fact of just knowing so much, and then it's like we're so inundated with information about what's going on in the world that as he's saying, it becomes depressing. How do we get from under this depression? I mean, you work in a space where you're organizing young people. You're working in often neighborhoods that are oftentimes have been historically neglected. How do we keep our sense of sanity and hope, keep that light of hope lit when all of these things are happening?
Well, we all have to narrow our focus. That's my opinion. I think sometimes we focus on the world, and when you focus on the world, you feel incapable of doing stuff about the world. And so with Thandie family, we focus on Baltimore City, and even more specifically, we focus on McElderly Park, a neighborhood in Baltimore City, because if you can't change a city block, then you can't change the country. And so I think we have to narrow our focus and focus on what can I do with my individual life. I may have 80 years or 90 years on this earth. How can I use my skills, my talents, what's in me that the creators put in me to be a benefit to others? But I think when we being inundated and pushed with all this information, it overwhelms us, and then we end up doing nothing. It's kind of like when you was in school and you had all these major essays and you was like, dang, I got so much. And do you spend the day or the night procrastinating because it's so much to do that you just end up do nothing.
You're doing nothing.
Narrow our focus. I know as a teacher on the line.
I love it. I love it. But when we're talking about learning about so much, right? And everybody, we're in a social media period of time where everybody is like, oh, did you know? People always come up to me. I think it's the funniest thing in the world. When people drop like facts or they tell me about stories, they like, Farajii, did you know this? And I'll be like, nah, you didn't know this happened in 1975. And it's like, bruh, I'm reading. I got so many damn news apps on my phone. I got all this stuff I'm trying to read. I'm trying to make sure, I'm trying to figure out what I want for breakfast and dinner. I mean, like, there's just so much knowledge and so much things to learn. And I'm wondering, is it just too much? You know, knowledge is power, as Mr. Cromwell said, but it can also be a depressant. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I agree. I don't necessarily agree that you have to like stay in your lane. I'm more of a take it in doses. Like I did find myself at one point in time like watching news and CNN so much that I was becoming so like stressed out, or I was either stressed out or desensitized, and I don't want to be either one of those. So again, taking information in moderation is very important. Also, make sure that if you're reading or you're watching news, take some breaks to read something that fulfills you. You know, you're really into those self-help books. I'm more into Genesis Begins Again. So sometimes it's just taking a moment to just allow my mind to rest or to take in knowledge or information that makes me feel good. Because we get a lot of shit that doesn't feel good. We're bombarded with sad shit all the time. But the reason why I say don't get stuck in only focusing on your block or your neighborhood, because what if the neighborhood that you're living in is a great neighborhood? So you don't see all the other things that are happening in the world. You're only operating from one lens, and that's the problem. When you operate from one lens, you're operating too small. That goes back to what we just talked about with taking critical race theory and Black history out of curriculum. Now we only want you to focus on this one little thing, this one little area. So again, I think that makes us kind of robotic. So I understand what Elijah is saying, and I do agree to a certain extent. Yes, focus on what you need to be focused on, but you don't want to not learn about what's happening in the world, because that'll, you can learn from what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can learn from what's happening in the next neighborhood. Maybe they did something that was very innovative that you didn't think of, but because you were so stuck on, I'm only going to focus on my center block, then you missed out on pertinent information. So always be able to learn, but take breaks.
I agree. You want information. What I'm saying is energy focus, because it's kind of like having a jug of water and you like, man, the world is just so thirsty. So I'm gonna give everybody a drop, and everybody's still thirsty after that. And so the thing is, what I love about people like our ancestors, like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, they lived in a certain time period. Martin Luther King was more of a Southerner. Malcolm X is more of a Northerner. And what I'm saying is your energy focus. You can learn all that stuff, but when I look at climate change, I'm like, dang, I know some people working on that. I'm gonna support those people, but that's not my focus. But when we say, man, my focus is everything, you end up doing nothing with your life. And that's the problem, in my opinion. And also I would say is that when it comes to city and community and all that stuff, things are getting better because the successful of us, our focus is so everywhere else. And it's like, yo, people are dying next door. You talking about drug addiction all over the place, your cousin on drugs. How about you help off it? And for me, that's what is like narrow your activity and actually put all your energy into something to make an impact, because we're not making an impact. We're just talking and dialoguing and debating on Instagram and on Facebook. And you didn't even talk about that as a media source. And we getting more about it just by the information taken on social media. You talking to one person is like they all in the little baby NBA young boy world. You talk to another person, they in CNN, and you talk to another one, they live in a whole different planet if you're watching Fox. So
yeah, but I gotta say, Elijah, that creates balance. Sometimes I want to hear about NBA young boy. I might need that at that moment, because maybe I've been spending too much time thinking about reparations. Maybe I need a little fluff story. We have to stop thinking that those fluff stories are unnecessary. Oh, you have to always be focused on the mission. That shit will drive you crazy. Sometimes we need a little pop culture. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not into like those crazy, reality TV shows. That's not my shit. But I get why some people need that. Sometimes you just want someone else's drama for a moment to take you away from your drama. And we need those mental breaks. That is what they are for. They are entertainment. So sometimes we're going to talk about those heavier stories, but we need the lighter stories too, because again, that word balance, that's the key thing here, balance.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that the other key word is making sure that we don't get into an echo chamber. So that's the word, echo chamber, right? Like you should expose yourself to as much knowledge as possible, knowledge that you may not normally agree with, right? And I'm not saying that you buying the books from authors that you actually hate, or you watch shows that don't speak to your values. But sometimes I sit and watch Fox News, right? I watch it just to get a sense of, okay, what they're talking about. And for me, it's in some cases like comedy relief. You know what I mean? It just is like, oh, okay, that's crazy how they spin that story. But when you do know a lot, it does put this great responsibility on you as the person, as the person that's taking in all of the knowledge. And I think that one of the things that Mr. Cromwell pointed out is the fact that, you know, we do have to have a balance in all of this stuff, because the world is so stressful. It really is stressful. And folks, I can't encourage you enough. You know, we often talk about self-care, Elijah and Nira, that we when we talk about that level of self-care, turning off your phones, like how many of us use, you know, we're all on our phones, we're on social media, we debating people, we reading articles. And I mean, we're doing this all day. We interacting with the people around us. We're taking in more news. I mean, your brain is going to just go crazy. You can't think straight. You can't go to sleep at night. I mean, it's just crazy. I know melatonin sales in the country is probably skyrocketed because of the way that we're conditioning our brains. So it's about finding your niche. And I love your idea there when you said, look, just take it in doses. You know, just take it in doses. Like, you can't have these deep, heavy conversations and then move on to another deep, heavy conversation. Then you're sitting in front of your children, if you know, your children or your family, and you're like, yeah, I want to have a deep, heavy conversation. Like, sometimes I just want to watch the children just play and just be in that moment. And I think that that's one of the big things that's very hard, especially for Black people. It's very hard for Black people to relax. I know people, Elijah, often say that we are lazy and shiftless and all of those things, but nowadays we can't relax.
Elijah, just jump on top of him. Just jump.
Oh yeah, I know y'all married though. All right, so what I'm saying is,
jump on him. No, you do that.
That comment. Oh my goodness, that is a meme right there. What I was gonna say is, y'all crazy. What I was going to say is faith also have to enter into this somewhere.
Go ahead, brother.
You do not have to do everything. You do not have to solve all the problems in the world. That I believe, I think many of us that have faith, you believe that the Creator put gifts and purpose and missions among all these different people. And so, you know, you don't have to be like, dang, you know, I'm about to hurt myself because the world, climate change. There's people that would sit here that are so focused on that from the time that they was little. And so faith in a Creator has to enter in somewhere where we know that there's a God at work. And you just play your role. Play your role.
Right. I love it. I think you are absolutely right, Elijah. At some point, you just gotta say, like the old saying says, let go and let God. That's it. That is it. All right, folks, we got to take another quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about trends, posts, and doing the most. Stay with us. It's The Culture on Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A Black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on that.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
Oh boy. All right, folks, it's time for Trends, Post, and Doing the Most. Who's doing the most? Thandie Newton. She's doing the most right now. If you remember Thandie Newton, she was in the show Westworld, and she went and did an interview with NPR. And the 49-year-old actress said in this interview, as she is promoting her new film, God's Country, she explained how she related to her character, citing feelings of prejudice in the industry. She said these words, folks. She said, "I now realize that my internalized prejudices were stopping me from feeling like I could play this role. When it's precisely that prejudice that I've received, doesn't matter that it's from African-American women more than anyone else. It doesn't matter. I've received prejudice. Anyone who's received prejudice feels this character." Well, what has gotten her in hot water is the fact that she apologized, saying, "I'm sorry, I'm the one chosen." She said that to dark-skinned actresses. She said, "I'm sorry I'm the one chosen. I'm sorry that the industry always puts me out front. I'm sorry that I am the one." She went further on to say, she said, "I wanted so desperately to apologize everybody to darker-skinned actresses to say I'm sorry." She said, "My mom looks like you." She's British. She said, "It's been very painful to have women that look like my mom feel like I'm not representing them, that I'm taking from them, taking their men, taking their work, taking their truth. But I do think that any woman of color, whether they're pale or whatever, they've managed to help other actors get into this business. We matter." Whenever they say that Black women who've watched a movie and it really, really, really matters to them, I just thank God that my light skin didn't stop that from happening, that it didn't cause more pain. Let me go to Nero.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because when I think of Black actresses, she wouldn't come to mind at all.
I'm trying to remember, other than Westworld, I watch Westworld.
I mean, I've seen her in a couple of things. She's not like a Black act. Like, for me, I would have thought of Viola Davis. I would have thought of Regina King. And they're all dark skinned. I'm like, shoot, like, where does she come up in the list? I'm gonna Sanaa Lathan, Nia Long. I mean, right. If you want to go to a biracial actress, Halle Berry is the first one that I would have thought of. I mean, she's just not an actress that's on my radar for her to make this statement. I don't think she's on a lot of people's radar. I definitely don't see her as getting like those big roles, those breakout roles, whether it's in film or TV. I mean, personally, I don't even like Westworld. I tried to watch it, couldn't get into it. Thandie, whatever her name, have a seat. But you know who is doing the most, Farajii? I just had Nelly.
We're not talking about that situation. We're not talking about Nelly. And then the short man complex. Elijah. Colorism. I mean, you know, I see that, you know, and I've noticed that, and this is a whole different show. This could really be a big show, but colorism in terms of among Black women is very, very real. We know it. We're in a time where light skin and dark skin are at odds with one another again. You know, we see it on social media. We see it amplified on social media. But when a lighter skinned woman says, "I'm sorry, I'm the one chosen," it feels it doesn't feel like an apology, bro.
It's willful blindness. I don't see because I don't want to see. But colorism has a long history in the Black community, and I think any of the people that benefit from it or experience the negative side of it, mostly women, mostly Black women, they know it's the truth. We all know it's the truth. We see the music videos. We see the TV shows. We know the truth. And so the thing is, I think it's willful blindness on her part. I don't want to see because I don't want to see. She knows she's had advantages and privileges and things like that, and she doesn't want to look at that because she don't want to look at that. So it's sad to hear her say that.
I mean, by her bringing this issue up, it only amplifies the conversation. Like whatever dark-skinned friends she had now before this comment, she may not have them after this comment.
No, that's hilarious, Farajii. But I will say people don't think of it from the flip side though. So I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm a lighter skin, but I'm also I'm like somewhere on the spectrum in the middle. But I grew up in a family that had a lot of darker skinned women. And honestly, I grew up hating my skin. I grew up wishing that I was darker because all of my family always was like, "Oh, you think you're cute because you're light skinned," or "Oh, you think you're all that because you have curly hair," or, you know, so it goes both ways. I will have to say that I definitely did not like my curly hair and my lighter skin growing up. I wanted darker hair. I mean, I wanted darker skin. I wanted thicker hair because that's what was around me. And I was made fun of for having lighter hair. I also have a girlfriend of mine who's dark skinned who said that she grew up being made fun of for being dark skinned. So again, we're all going through the same issues here. Whether you're on the lighter spectrum or the darker spectrum, we're all being made fun of by people who are like Black. At the end of the day, we're still Black. I should not have had to deal with so much self-hate because of other Black women, in which I did. It wasn't Black men that made me hate myself. It was Black women. So I would have to agree with that. I still deal with that. I still deal with Black women who make me feel less than, who have hurt my self-esteem. I have not had that issue with Black men as much.
Wow. Oh, she was also, Sonia, thank you so much for checking in. Sonia said, Farajii, she was in the Tyler Perry movie, Good Deeds. I forgot that she was in that movie.
Who watches Tyler Perry movies?
Stop it. Tyler Perry, we love you, sir. Thank you.
I'm just joking, Tyler. I'm just joking.
All right, let's go to the next story. Here's something I thought was really interesting. According to the reports, folks, this is really cool. Madam C.J. Walker's descendant has decided to relaunch her hair care line. Sarah Breedlove, which is the name of the real name of Madam C.J. Walker. She became the nation's first woman self-made millionaire more than a century ago by turning hot combs into a hot profit. Her descendant, her great-great-granddaughter, Alila Bundles. That's interesting. Alila Bundles said plans to relaunch Madam by Madam C.J. Walker, which will be a new Sundial Brands beauty and hair care line. The collection of 11 new products was inspired, of course, by Madam C.J. Walker. And according to Bundles in a statement, she said, quote, "We work together to merge 100 years of research, development, science, and technology to ensure that the products are innovative and effective as the original Walker line." She said, "This collection embodies Madam Walker's spirit of empowerment and pays homage to modern women of color." I love it. I absolutely love it. Alila Bundles. I love it. I love it. Hey, Elijah, I love it. Did I tell you that? I love it, man. We need to bring it back. What's your take
it's
on
dope. And it's continuing the history, man. Continuing the history. In first millionaire of any woman in America. And the fact that, this has happened all through Black History Month, man. This is dope, man. This is dope. So I agree. I think it's completely wonderful, and it's carrying on a great legacy of a great woman. So.
Hey, you know, it's going to be interesting there to see how they roll out this hair care line.
You know, I'm excited.
Because the market is mad competitive right now. Like, you got a lot of products for women and for hair, and I hope they do it for men as well. But there are already a lot of products on the market.
Yeah, there definitely are. But you know me, I love testing products. I will definitely be testing these products, and I will come right on here to show you guys how well they work for me. Again, all of our hair is so different. So be aware of what the ingredients are. I know for me, with having celiac disease, that's going to be a big thing to make sure that it's something that I can use in my hair. But I'm really excited, and I want to support, even if I just buy it and just have it, like, you know, for decoration. I'm definitely going to support. We have to support. I mean, this woman has inspired so many. Madam C.J. Walker has inspired so many Black women. I know. Just before the pandemic hit, one of my students, she said that when she grows up, she wants to be a hairdresser. For Black History Month, she was Madam C.J. Walker. So for the entire month, she had to research Madam C.J. Walker, and at the end of the month, she had to become Madam C.J. Walker and present on her. So again, this just speaks to our legacy and why it's so important to keep our history alive and to keep our history in the curriculum and in the classrooms for all children.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That is all that we got for Trends Post and Doing the Most. But I want to thank my culture crew, Elijah Miles, who is an activist and founder of Thandie Family. Chairman Elijah, thank you so much, sir. And of course, I want to thank my wife, who is a writer, who is an educator and host of Queen Talks with Nira podcast that can be heard on all major platforms. Thank you so much for joining us as well. All right, folks, that is it for us. I'm trying to get those words out, but I appreciate all the support. Thank you so much for all of the comments and everything. And we want to thank our special guest, Baba Akili, for checking in as well. Make sure you do your part to support Black Star Network. You see all of the information at the bottom. We don't do this for free. We don't do this just for fun. We do this to make sure that Black media is there, is present, is represented, and to make sure we tell our stories the proper way that we need to tell it. So make sure you support Black Star Network. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Peace.